Table or truth?
Whatever you want to do. It's your show.
Yeah, it's my show. That actually reminds me. I want to make some things. Your option because you're the guest of the show. So I don't want to hide anything from you. You know what I mean? I want to give you all progress on the edits. If you'd like to take a look at the edits before I publish them, they're overall pretty clean. The big issue I was curious about was if you wanted me to even mention, because every now and then the fact we work in slips there. I don't know if you really want that on the show. I could admit that with a little like.
No. I won't be mentioning. But you're free to mention.
I mentioned because I think we talked about Brianna. Granted, I don't know if that's like PR the airport wants. I think it's great, but like obviously, I know Massachusetts being the unjustifiably labeled slightly fascist state that it is, that they use everything against people. So I was like, well, I mean, this is for a good exhibition dialogue, and I would imagine two intellectuals getting together for a friendly banter is something that they would appreciate, because they are technically ranked number 1 or 2 in the scholarly department in the state. So I'm a little confused what they would think. On one end, if we were to talk about edgy topics, I don't know if that's like a big, where you have actually your First Amendment rights, which I believe they're still part of the United States, that they are okay to incur for yourself or myself to just speak without getting canceled,
Well, you may mention
Okay.
at your leisure.
All right, as long as you don't mind. Yeah, I mean.
Right. I won't be mentioning.
Well, if we're recording this right now, you are actually, but we can get rid of it.
Are you recording that?
I am. Yeah, I have to just put this thing on the air as soon as we. But I can edit that.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that this discussion was.
Yeah, sorry. I just do it because, like, again, every now and then we capture a good men,
Okay.
But I can get rid of that if you want, or if you don't, or you don't care.
We can roll.
I'm proud. Yeah, I'm proud of where I work.
Absolutely.
With a mechanical engineering degree and a master's in physics, and working as a co-assistant manager at Worcester. I don't think there's any shame in that. Legally, I think I'd have to check with Ed to see if he even wants the business mentioned. I don't know. This could sell pretty good, or who knows? Maybe he doesn't want it mentioned. So I don't have to check with that on the legal stuff. But yeah,
excellent.
I don't think there's any shame in that. Working as a co-assistant manager at Worcester, especially in this crapped economy with harder job market, tougher op. I just need material. All right.
Crap economy.
Well, I wouldn't say it's necessarily caliber right now. I mean, what is the biggest concern that most of my customers tell me? I don't know if I'm going to be able to pay bills next month. A lot of people are concerned. They've got that whole October, threat like looming in. Like, what's it? I read today, October 4th. Have you heard about that?
No.
October 4th. Let's look this one up. October 4th is some doomsday of like, it's the market crashing. Well,
are they going to?
This is material people like.
QAnon going to get the JFK Jr. out of the grave, and they're going to go like they did. Was it Dallas, somewhere in Texas?
I think this
Dallas,
one's going to be
where they all lined up because
I don't think
JFK Jr. was supposed to come out.
I don't think this is going to be the threat people are making it out to be, because for one thing, the establishment will never push something if it ever got leaked out that it's going to happen on that day, because that's kind of like calling D-Day out if you're a German, right? You're like, okay, we'll just switch the date to June 4th, right, as opposed to June 2nd, All right, FEMA plans to test National Alert System on October 4th. This is interesting, folks. By the time you get this one...
It's not FEMA, it's FEMA.
FEMA, sorry. That's my Bulgarian accent, yes. By the time you hear about this, it'll probably be October 4th, just for the record. So this might be useless information, but... because it takes a while to edit these things. Get ready. Okay, I'm just going to read from, let's just put the sign up on the Seattle Times. Okay, it's so pretentious. It's like you want to read about it, but then they like put this thing like in order for you to read, you have to like sign up for, as if they're that important.
It's about money.
Yeah, exactly. FEMA, which reminds me, folks, these, all right, never mind. We'll make an announcement a little later. Just hit a like and subscribe. If you like the content that you've been hearing this whole time, the last couple episodes. And honestly, you know what? It takes a while to edit these.
I bet it does.
I'm telling you, 6 hours, bro. 6 hours this
You
weekend.
are dedicated.
Well, I want a quality product that we could be proud of. But I'm starting to realize why people have Patreons on these things, because it's not easy to produce it. So, okay, sorry. October 4th. So, okay, Federal Emergency Management Act. This is FEMA itself. I don't know if I can trust this one, but it says Emergency Alert Test, October 4th, 2023. Washington, in coordination with FEMA, with the Federal Communications Commission, FCC, will conduct a nationwide test of the emergency alert system and wireless emergency alerts this fall. The national test will consist of 2 portions, testing WEA, which is the wireless emergency alert, and EAS, which is the emergency alert system, just to see what their capabilities are. Both tests are scheduled to begin around 2:20 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday, October 4th. The WEA portion of the test will be directed to all consumer cell phones. Boy, that doesn't sound invasive, huh? The EAS portion of the test will be sent to radios and televisions. So I guess is this any different than like back in the 80s when you'd kind of fake a nuke attack and then you'd be watching DuckTales or something?
Well, no, not what you have is your emergency broadcast system. Remember that on your television?
Yeah. So what's
that at 3 o'clock in the morning? They have to test it to make sure that it works.
That's fair.
Right. So what's the problem with October 4th then?
Well, I don't know. I guess they're just going to be doing this, but it's emergency broadcast system on our phones. Which brings us to a bigger question. Why the hell is this happening?
What, the test?
Yeah, the whole not the test. The dilemma that brought us to this moment in history in the slightly skewed parallel universe that we live in. But maybe I'm being biased, so please. Why do you suppose this?
The test?
No, I get the test, but why is this in history now? Like, in an alternate universe, had we not okay, let's just put the pieces just to be open-minded here. Had Putin not invaded Ukraine, which I agree, like, what's up, right? Had NATO not egged, I guess, Putin on, though, in a way, by allowing the insinuation of missile bases to be set up if Ukraine became a NATO ally or whatever. Let's just assume we didn't go to war with Russia, or we were not in the brink of potential war with Russia and or China, right? Now, what caused these things to happen? A lot of people in the United States, as far as I can tell, don't want to be in a war. You know, the military-industrial complex wants us to be in a war.
We're not in a war.
Not yet. I hope we don't end up being in a war. But
okay. So,
then why would this emergency broadcast system be happening? It didn't happen 5 years ago.
Sure it did.
On our cell phones like this?
Well, maybe they didn't have the capability, but this is
ordinary coincidence.
Stuff. Well, I wouldn't even say coincidence. It's set up. You have to test the system. Any emergency system you have, and a great example was Maui,
which failed miserably.
Right.
Nobody tested it.
So, the question is, or the questions are, and someone is looking into this, is when was it last tested? And why didn't it work now so that in the future it can be resolved? You have to test the system. All emergency systems that I've dealt with in the last 20 years, we've always done a test.
But the timing of the
warmongering
uncertainties is just a coincidence.
No, it's not. The war, what was it? March 2022? When did the invasion happen? So it's not like it was a coincidence. That was over a year ago.
Okay.
Year and a half ago. So why are you trying to tie this in with the Ukrainian war?
I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe the fact that so if there's never been a war with Ukraine and tensions with China,
this would have happened.
This would have happened anyway. So it's just a coincidence.
Well, it's not a coincidence. This is happening. It's happening because you need to test the emergency system, and it could be not just for war.
Yeah.
If you have some type of
zombie epidemic.
Okay, zombie epidemic. If you want to go that way, I do.
I
watch most of the Walking Dead, but it's also dealing with natural disasters. So you have to test the system.
Okay, I'll buy that. I guess we're just, the Ronnie Yates.
I'm good.
All right,
Thank you. It's okay.
Senior, yeah.
dropping down the stairs.
Yeah, I noticed that. The Ron Yateses of the world are just being paranoid.
Where's your oats?
Oats right over there.
Yeah, don't you put your oats on this, or you're not having it?
I'm not having them today because I ran out of milk.
So we're just going tortilla chips, huh?
Tortilla chips and Honey Smacks.
Or
generic brand if anybody wants.
You can put beer in there
Mixed with
milk.
beer. Yeah, it's a hardcore Nordic style cereal.
See,
But
no, this is it's a coincidence, and those who, again, conspiracy theorists,
okay.
they just can't wait for the next one to come over.
No, that's fair. And to be honest, we'll see what happens. I don't think the world's going to apocalypse on October 4th. But economically, I'm still concerned about the nasty storm brewing between student loans being reintroduced back into society. I know people have to pay their loans, so it's not so much that. It's just that people, let's face it, they couldn't make cuts, during COVID. And now people are even worse off economically than they were.
Well, when you say they couldn't make cuts,
The people that owe money, the students, I wouldn't say everybody, but a lot of them were having they were totally okay with that student loan freeze.
right? So they had a deferment,
Right.
and then the Biden administration
Egged everybody on to be a little bit more financially lax on their responsibilities with the housing market, with the landlord moratorium. What was it called? Moratorium. That didn't help.
No foreclosure. When you say it didn't help, it helped the people.
Well, it did temporarily, like a big Band-Aid, but like it's these things kind of incentivize people to just be more sort of like frivolous and free with their money spending. I guess the evidence I have is the fact that a lot of people, not everybody, mind you, but I'm sure anybody listening to this podcast might actually even know somebody who they received their Biden check and instead of spending it on rent or whatever, they bought us plasma screen TV, that kind of thing, Just like straight out of the Chappelle show, Like I'm not saying people were fiscally responsible with the checks they got. And the point is people in the last 3 years have been somewhat conditioned.
So they should not have received the checks to help them out?
I don't know what to say about that one. I would let the free peoples of the world decide for themselves if that was a good idea, making us all mute. Again, I'm not sitting here going to be the victim either.
Well, that's what you're saying. You're saying that there were people, and the way you're going at it, a large segment, who did not use their stimulus checks
responsibly.
Well, when you say responsibly, there wasn't anything tied into that you had to pay your credit card.
What about landlords who were like, I'm not getting any rent and I can't kick these people out?
Right.
I would say that's not responsible.
On whose part?
On the tenant's part. And the government for not actually doing what the equivalent of a trust would have done, right? Where you're like, we're giving you a check. This check is a currency only for you're paying your rent. We know your situation. You can only use it for rent and food. And that's it. From that point of view, you're giving us free money. You should have the ability to give the allowances to how it's being used as the big father / mother, whatever you want to call it.
Really? So Big Father gave you a check.
Yeah.
A check that came out of your bank account. It's your money. It's taxpayer money.
Well, not everybody that got those checks necessarily were benefiting the way other taxpayers were giving those high taxes.
It's taxpayer money.
People of super low socioeconomic status may not have been able to contribute the magnitude of those checks back. They didn't have that money, period. And all of a sudden they get a check that's bigger than a regular paycheck per unit week. And they're like, dude, why would I work when the government's going to give me more money for sitting in my ass for 6 months?
Wow.
Right? Calculated, that does sound like something that just doesn't necessarily instigate proper financial, accountability from certain individuals. Who can blame them? If I'm getting a check for like $800 a week, and I was maybe making $350 before that, and they're like, no, we're going to give you this check, then I'm just going to keep going with the unemployment card because why not? Right? Wouldn't I do that?
If you had no job and was unable to get a job
Furloughed?
due to the pandemic.
Yeah, but you know how easy it was to
That's-
continue just claiming unemployment and not going back to work?
Well, no, I don't know.
Okay, that's fair. Well, let me tell you, it was very easy. Okay, in fact, I know a few people that did it. And there's kind of like one of those, like, what the hell? After a while, you're just kind of like those who were actually working throughout the pandemic.
Like you.
You saw me up there every day. I took one for the team, man. I was there in the Mississippi, March 2020. You know, my hours got cut, but I didn't completely quit. Yeah, I'd say me. I'm gonna throw that out. Yeah, I was in the front lines like every other, emergency response worker. Worse, because people coming off the plane coughing on me, and we didn't have the technology of a shield then for 6 months.
Oh, yeah, they were coughing on you, and you refused to take.
The vaccine.
Yes.
But notice I didn't get sick, folks. Just for the record, I never actually had any real symptoms of COVID during that 2-year span of apocalypse.
Very, very good.
Yeah.
And you never tested yourself either.
Guys, you want to know what the secret was, though, for all intents and purposes? I have to tell this. I have to share this story. I mean, somebody out there this might help. Now, I've got a background as a fitness trainer, and I'm not trying to blow my own horn here. I'm going to say I did use the scientific method or the classical training that I learned in STEM from my collegiate proclivities at WPI, my tech school, blah blah blah. All right, big deal, right? I agree with you. The bottom line is, as soon as COVID hit, the first thing that I thought was like, yeah, everybody's thinking the same thing. We could all very well die. How do I stay healthy? I went back to my classical training of preventive healthcare that a good trainer should know and encourage his or her clients. And I was like, okay, more than ever, I can't be eating Honey Smacks all day, right?
But you're eating Honey Smacks.
I am now because I'm celebrating the fact that we're not in the COVID apocalypse. And I've probably built the immune system where, I'm not too worried. But I was very strict on what I'd eat. I cut my caloric intake by 25%.
Was that the tortilla chips also included in your diet?
No, but I'll tell you what, the secret was this. I kept exercising, particularly cardio, because I was like, all right, seeing how this thing could really affect your lung capacity, your VO2 max, I was like, well, I got to get the cardio up, right? I kept working out. I ate I stricter than I ever had in years, and I made sure I got sleep. My sleep game was really good during COVID, and I'm telling you, I think that just if you actually study preventive healthcare techniques, all that was in. Thumbs up, right? And then add meditation / prayer, depending what you believe. Do your best to keep a positive spirit, however you can, even though it's not a scientific thing. But I think most people can appreciate that idea. The CDC, by the way, years later, did anybody actually notice this? Anybody that's listening to this, do your research, but go online. The CDC, about a year later, or a couple articles came out where the CDC had posted the second most likely of the population to succumb to COVID. The first was comorbidities, right? The second was people suffering from high anxiety. That's crazy. The whole fucking establishment, all they did was like scare the crap out of all of us for about a year and a half, telling us how weak and we were going to die, and our immune system was nothing without the vaccine. They never pushed preventive health care. I mean, in all fairness, I don't recall a campaign of personal trainers going door to door, knocking on doors and telling people, listen, you're in lockdown right now. We're going to show you how to stay fit and how to stay healthy. It's never too late to start. I don't remember like a couple billion being sent for that.
So the tens of thousands of people, we'll just stay in the United States, America,
all right, yeah, just
who were fit,
mm-hmm.
did not take the vaccine and died. What happened with them?
Well, statistically, let me give you this stat, and you're welcome to look them up. Prime Fitness down in Oxford, I knew the manager there. I think I told you the story once. It was like December 2020. I stepped in there, and they had made the local news because they were threatening to get locked out because the town of Oxford was on their case because they were not complying to the mandates, right? Even though they knew their constitutional rights. And so what happened was they, defiantly, I guess, just kept going, and they left the gym open. I'm not going to say necessarily it was completely not reckless. If you went, you go in there, you're kind of like nobody had a mask on, okay? And I was a fan of at least social distancing and wearing a mask. But the overall atmosphere in the gym was one of like, hey, we're healthy. We know, our body, right? We're not going to comply to these mandates. They're stupid. And the show went on. So I went in there 2020 December, and I was looking around like I felt like I'd stepped back a year in time. It was crazy. And then I said to myself, "This is nuts." Like my friend who runs the gym, she was telling me like there actually were no fatalities in the membership here, despite the fact that they were completely disregarding not just the vaccine but social distancing and masks. I couldn't believe it. I would have figured some people would have like succumbed. She did admit that, the people would have like a cold or something, but not symptoms that were so debilitating that like a massive outbreak broke out and everybody was bedridden for weeks. Nothing. It never happened. I was like, well, why isn't like UMass or one of these hospitals doing an expose on this? I mean, that's just as good as using all the research for the vaccine, isn't it?
No,
No?
because I don't believe it.
Okay.
I don't believe that she knows that all the people who are members, none of them got COVID, none of them died. I don't believe it.
Look at it this way. If they were so reckless and there was such massive casualties, somebody would have sued the
I
gym.
didn't say massive casualties.
That leads me to believe there's at least some truth to the idea that's already scientific about preventive healthcare. But let me just say this. The government wants all this overreach with emergency executive powers, the ability to watch every transaction you're doing, the Patriot Act. But when it actually comes to the real need for some sort of government monitoring things, they seem to fail miserably. You ever notice that? They seem to be pretty belligerent, asking for overreach powers for things that nobody really wants, like forced lockdowns, ultra surveillance, maybe monitoring your free speech. But then the things that they actually could have used some wise overreach, like technically what they claim their whole pitch is, like maybe putting a reasonable cap on how you could spend money that they're providing to you for hypothetically free. They fail miserably. Don't you think that's insane? You've got to chase your dreams, folks. And if your dream is hitting a like and subscribing to a channel somewhere online, make the dream come true right now. And share and hit a like and subscribe.